Got Talent 2020
6.
is
Matty Juniosa!
There is a moment, 12 minutes before the semifinal stage lights come up, when Matty Juniosa sits alone in the wings and realizes he has made a terrible mistake. Not in his act, in his belief about what kind of competition he would face. He has trained for 5 months. Every morning before dawn, the same routine. Every night, the same doubt. He has watched the other semifinalists' audition tapes 17 times. He knows their timing. He knows their weak spots. He knows exactly how he is supposed to beat them. But knowing and surviving are not the same thing. Somewhere backstage, a child prodigy from Seoul is warming up vocal cords that hit notes human ears weren't designed to process. In another corner, a shadow dancer from Berlin is stretching muscles that have won 3 international competitions. A magician with 30 years of professional experience is shuffling cards. Matty is 32 years old. He has no formal training. He learned his craft in his garage. And he is about to walk onto a stage where every other person competing has spent their entire life preparing for exactly this moment. This is the story of how an ordinary person with an extraordinary belief tried to defeat the most formidable group of performers Britain's Got Talent has ever assembled, and why that story is so much darker than it first appears. You need to understand what Matty Juniosa actually is, because the internet has already decided. Social media wrote the ending months ago. 12 million people watched his audition, and they all left the same comment. He is a feel-good story, the inspiring underdog, the guy who shouldn't have made it this far, but did. The narrative that says merit and heart triumph over privilege. That is the myth. Here's what actually happened. Matty did not come out of nowhere. He came out of a very specific kind of nowhere, the kind where you have enough money to pursue your passion, but not enough to be taken seriously. His father was an engineer. His mother was a teacher. They supported his interest in magic at 7. They bought the books. They paid for lessons. They drove him to conventions. By 30, Matty had been performing magic at birthday parties and local theaters for nearly 2 decades. He was good. He was respected. He was also, by every measure that mattered in the professional world, a failure. He had never landed a major touring contract. He had never performed at an international festival. He had never been offered a television deal. Then, in 2024, something shifted. The decision to audition for BGT came from a place most people don't discuss when they tell the feel-good story. It came from desperation. Matty was facing what every mid-level performer faces in their 30s, the knowledge that if something doesn't happen soon, it never will. The window closes, the hunger becomes resignation, your family stops asking when you're going to get serious, you stop asking yourself. So he made a calculation. BGT reaches 15 million viewers. One appearance could change everything. One moment of recognition could reset his entire trajectory. He was not thinking about fair competition. He was thinking about the one card left in his hand. That card was visibility. What he didn't understand is that visibility is not the same thing as victory, and visibility on a stage with 8 other performers who have spent their entire lives preparing for this is a different animal altogether. Look at who actually made the 2026 semifinal. In position 3, Yuki Tanaka, a violinist from Japan who won the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition at 19. She does not wonder if she is good enough. She has studied under virtuosos. In position 5, Kinetic Form, a dance collective from Ukraine that won the World Hip Hop Dance Championship. They have performed backup for international artists. In position 7, James Whittemore, a comedian who has been performing stand-up for 23 years, who has headlined Edinburgh and Melbourne festivals. And then there is Matty Juniosa. He is a garage magician, not a stage magician. There is a profound difference. A garage magician performs in spaces where the lighting is kind, where the audience is close, where mistakes can be hidden. A stage magician performs where every hand movement is visible to thousands, where lighting designers see every eye flicker, where the smallest imperfection becomes a flaw 12 million viewers will slow motion replay. Matty had never performed on a stage that size, not once. But here is where the story stops being simple. Because what Matty possessed, what the other semifinalists mostly did not, was desperation married to clarity. He knew he had made it this far on something other than technical perfection. His audition was vulnerable. He performed a trick about mortality. He talked about his father who had died 6 years earlier. He cried. He made the trick about emotion. The algorithm rewards that. The other semifinalists had made the competition by being the best at their craft. Matty had made it by making the audience feel something. That is not the same thing. And walking into the semifinal, Matty understood this advantage was about to become a liability. The technical rehearsal took 45 minutes. The lighting designer asked him to repeat his trick 6 times because the shadows fell in the wrong place. The sound engineer had to remove the background music because it was covering the crucial sound. The stage manager kept asking him to repeat his movements because they couldn't see the key moment from all angles. By the end, Matty was visibly shaken. One of the other contestants, a street performer named David Chen, watched the whole thing and later said the moment was heartbreaking. He could see Matty realizing for the first time that this stage was different, this audience was different. This was not something he could charm his way through. Because charm does not work when you are standing next to a violinist who can play Paganini without breaking a sweat. The night of the semi-final, the theater holds 2,100 people. 8 million more watch on television. Matty goes on in position 6 out of 9. He has watched all 5 previous performers. He knows the bar has been set impossibly high. The violinist before him, Yuki Tanaka, performed Sibelius. The audience couldn't clap for several seconds. They were too stunned. This is what happens when you watch technical perfection reach art. Matty walks onto the stage, the music cues, and something interesting happens. He does not choke. What he does is more subtle and more devastating. He gives a good performance, technically sound, emotionally engaging, exactly what he's been practicing for months. And it is not enough. Because good and good enough to beat Yuki Tanaka are not in the same category. You can see it in the judges' faces. You can hear it in the applause, warm but not explosive. You can feel it in the moment after he finishes, when the camera pans to his face and you see that he already knows. The results are announced. The 3 finalists are Yuki Tanaka, Kinetic Form, and Elena Rossi. Matty did not make the final. He was eliminated in position 6, 4th overall. This means he made it further than 5 other competitors, but not far enough to matter. The reaction on his face, which millions have now seen in slow-motion clips online, is not devastation. It is something quieter. It is the moment someone realizes what they believed about themselves is not what the world believes about them. It is the moment the private mythology collides with public reality, and public reality wins. But here is where the story does an unexpected turn. Because what happened to Matty after his elimination became more significant than his performance ever was. The internet became very invested in the narrative of the underdog. When he did not win, something dark happened in the online space. People did not accept the results. One Reddit thread claimed the judges had bias against working-class performers. Twitter threads said the voting system was rigged against magicians. Facebook groups formed arguing that Matty had been robbed. But here is the cruelest part. Matty never asked for this. He never said the competition was unfair. He was professional and gracious in defeat. And yet his supporters, the people who claimed to love him, were essentially arguing that his loss was undeserved and that the other finalists did not deserve to beat him. In doing this, they were not helping Matty, they were infantilizing him. In the weeks after the semifinal, Matty's life changed in ways that had nothing to do with winning. His Instagram followers jumped from 87,000 to 1.2 million. He was offered representation. He was asked to appear on morning talk shows. He was offered a Las Vegas residency. Several of these offers came directly because of his loss. The narrative had become the inspiring guy who didn't make it, and now you should support him anyway. That is a different kind of victory, and it is also a different kind of trap. Because Matty became more famous for losing than he would have been for winning. His failure was converted into a different kind of success. But that success comes with a cost. Here is what most people get wrong. Matty Juniosa is not a victim. The competition was not unfair. Yuki Tanaka genuinely performed at a higher technical level. Kinetic Form genuinely danced with more innovation. Elena Rossi genuinely connected more deeply. That is not bias. That is not rigged. That is not injustice. That is competition. The painful part, the part the feel-good narrative cannot accommodate, is that Matty did everything right and it was still not enough. He had the right motivation, he had the right support, he was talented and hardworking and sincere. And he ran into other people who had all of those things plus 5, 10, or 30 additional years of mastery. That is the reality of competitive excellence, and it is not a story the internet wants to hear. But something more interesting happened after the loss. Because Matty did something that very few viral underdogs actually do. He did not accept the consolation prize. He did not rest on the sympathy. He did not convert the moment into a career based on his near miss. Instead, he went back into the garage. According to his social media in the months following the elimination, Matty returned to the same practice routine from before the audition, the same hour in the morning, the same technical drills, the same slow, patient accumulation of skill that had defined his career. He turned down the Las Vegas residency. He chose to continue working at local theaters and corporate events. He kept Instagram updated, but returned to a modest posting schedule. He went back to being local, respected, known by a few thousand people instead of a million. And this choice, this deliberately unsexy return to normalcy, contains something real about Matty that the original BGT narrative almost completely missed. Here is what the story was actually about. It was never about whether Matty could beat the other semifinalists. By any objective measure, he could not. They were better than him in the specific skill being judged. But the real question was different. Could Matty accept that truth without letting it destroy him? And the answer, it turns out, was yes. In interviews now, months after the semifinal, Matty talks about the experience differently than you might expect. He does not say the judges were wrong. He does not say he should have won. What he says is more honest. He says that standing on that stage, looking out at an audience of 2,100 people with 8 million watching at home, he felt completely unprepared. Not emotionally, technically. He says the other semifinalists were in fact genuinely better, and he says this not with bitterness, but with relief. Because once you accept that, once you stop fighting the reality of your own position, something strange happens. The pressure becomes manageable. The ambition becomes sustainable. You can keep working toward improvement without needing every moment to be a referendum on whether you deserve it. The deeper story here is not about Matty Juniosa at all. It is about what happens when ordinary people with genuine talent run into the ceiling of excellence. The mythology says that hard work and sincerity will overcome any obstacle. It says if you want it badly enough, if you sacrifice enough, if you believe hard enough, you can beat anyone. This mythology is partially true. Hard work does matter. Sincerity does matter. Belief does matter. But they do not matter equally. A person trained professionally for 10 years will, on average, beat a person trained semi-professionally for 25 years. A person with access to the world's best teachers will develop differently than someone learning from YouTube videos, no matter how talented they are.
A person who chose to pursue something at age 5 will have fundamental advantages over someone who chose at age 15. These are not value judgments. This is not saying the person who started later is worse as a human. It is saying that expertise has layers, and the layers take time. What Matty represents is not that he defeated the odds, it is that he did not, and he survived it. He did not become bitter, he did not become cynical, he did not convince himself the competition was rigged to protect his ego. He accepted the outcome and returned to the work. That is not the story that gets made into a Hollywood film. That is not the story that trends on Twitter. That is not the story that makes the algorithm favor you. But that is the story that actually matters. So here is where we reconsider the question in the title. Can Matty Juniosa defeat the toughest semifinalists in BGT 2026 history? The factual answer is no. He could not have defeated Yuki Tanaka. No amount of additional practice would have changed that in the time frame available. Yuki is a virtuoso in a field where virtuosity is measured. But the deeper answer is more complex, because defeating someone and beating someone are not the same thing. Matty did beat something on that stage. He beat his own mythology. He beat the false narrative that said he was entitled to success because he wanted it badly enough. He beat the voice that said the world owed him a moment because he had suffered. And in doing so, he became genuinely interesting. Not because he lost with grace, thousands lose with grace every day, but because he lost, accepted it, and then quietly returned to the work. That is a story about what happens when you stop needing the world to validate you and start actually building something.